Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and we are live. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sorry for the delay, but life is life. C'est la vie, as they say, right, Alex?
That's right. Thank you for having me, Anya, and warm greetings to everybody out there.
Thank you so much. People were waiting, I know, no problem, and no introduction needed, but to those of you who never came across Alex KRAINER, he's a fantastic geopolitical analyst and also financial analyst. But today I have a very special topic that I really thought this is the perfect person to talk to about this. Before we start, I would like to ask you kindly to hit the like button if the conversation brings you any value, and I'm sure it will. Subscribe to my channel, both of which are free of charge, and it doesn't hurt, no pain at all. And if you want to support Alex, you scroll down all the way down below in the description will be already his Substack. You can follow him on X, and there is one more link to his website as well. So Alex, let's start with this. This is quite a lengthy intro from me, but I really want to read it. I prepared this for our conversation today, so I hope everyone is patient, and please, namaste. I know Alex is my guest, however, this is important. So let's start with a story that I want to share. Some of you probably know this, but some of you don't. I didn't know about it, and I think it's important to address it. This story was celebrated for at least 50 years, but in the 20th century, due to the communism and Cold War, the story was pushed away or twisted, as most of the historical things are. So during the Battle of Independence, between North and South of America, which started, I believe, in 1775. During that battle, and this is very important, in 1776, on the 4th of July, the Americans declare independence. Alex, are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. However, the war is still going on, and it was going on for quite some time. So they declare independence on 4th of July, 1776. The war is going on until 1783. If you declare independence from the UK, British, or the Zionists, you would need some form of backing. You would need a partner, right? And that partner was the Romanovs. It was Tsar Alexander II. Now, we are going to 1863, because in that year, Tsar Alexander sent almost the entire Russian Navy to protect the United States. The ships created a shield on the east side of US, New York and Boston area, and the second part of that fleet protected the west side with San Francisco. Tsar also ordered the admirals who were in charge of the fleet, in case of an attack from British or French on the United States, they are to defend the United States. In fact, the admiral in charge of the Baltic fleet, that was in charge of that fleet in New York area, he said that there was a secret order from Tsar Alexander II that if there was an attack on United States by England or France, he was to proceed to Washington and place himself under the order of Abraham Lincoln to defend the US. So not only Russia protected the United States, but also blocked those ports from any supply that could reach British. So here are my thoughts. Thank you, Alex, for your patience, for allowing me to read all of this. But this is very important situation. Now, my thoughts in this current reality are this. Trump and Putin are replaying, in a way, the scenario from 1776 I'm not going into astrology and other things because there are other aspects in the world that actually, there are cycles, okay? We are in this cycle now. So they are playing as if they are the opponents. Russia is always showing the cards clearly. Trump is confusing everyone completely. No one knows what's going on, but ultimately, we are going to come to the same point when Russia and United States are the allies, like they used to be. And before I finish my talking, I want to show you this, guys. I didn't know about it, and I was in Moscow so many times. They were so close. This is Tsar Alexander II, and this is Abraham Lincoln. This is a statue that is in Moscow. It was put out there, I think, in 2011, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. So, Alex, thank you so much for listening to my long intro. What I want to say, Russia and US were friends, very close friends, and they played this story that they are the enemies. So, your thoughts on my thoughts?
Oh, well, I'm very glad that you brought that up, Anya, because this is there's a whole chapter in my book, Grand Deception, that was devoted to this, to the fact that United States and Russia used to be very close friends and allies throughout the 19th century and even before that, and even a little bit after that. And then they used to be allies through World War II as well. And there's always one actor in global affairs that has been going out of their way to destroy that alliance in all kinds of underhanded, covert ways. And we know who that is. And I think this is the same party that has also been behind Russiagate, behind relentless attacks on Donald Trump, and who are now desperate to keep the United States committed to Project Ukraine and to prevent a development of friendly relations between the United States and Russia, even though United States and Russia are natural, logical allies. And I think, when I published my book, that was in 1917, it got very quickly banned, and then Red Pill Press republished it. Then it got banned again, and then we, with a friend, we created how do you call it? An institution, which was called the Third Alliance. And the Third Alliance was exactly what you are suggesting is possibly happening now. The Third Alliance between the United States and Russia. The first one was 19th century and the era of civil war. The second one was World War II, and the third one is now. And our idea, our intent is to kind of try to raise awareness and push forward the idea that United States, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of peace in the world, United States and Russia should become allies once more. So what you read out there is very encouraging, and it does seem to me, for a number of reasons, that this is what's actually going on. And I can name some of those reasons. Trump is perfectly aware that all these attacks on himself are originating from Great Britain. So Russiagate, practically the whole, Hillary Clinton was involved, the DNC was involved, but practically the whole thing has been cooked up in London, and everybody who was involved in creating the phony dossier against Donald Trump was an British intelligence asset. Christopher Steele, Sir Richard Dearlove, Stefan Halper, Joseph Mifsud, a number of other names that I can't think of off the top of my head now, but there's 8 or 9 or 10 prominent British intelligence assets who were very active in this. Another reason was in 2019, there was heavy pressure on Donald Trump to start the war against Iran, to launch a bombing campaign against Iran. Afterwards, it emerged that the pressure was coming from British embassy, and the scandal, when it erupted, then British ambassador Sir Kim Darroch had to be recalled, and the British had to nominate a new ambassador. That's how bad it got. The problem is that every time that Britain is involved in some kind of dirty dealing, the media tend to ignore it. So it never becomes a big scandalous story that it should become. It's always kind of swept under the carpet. Britain is always protected in the media, to the extent that when the Russiagate saga was unfolding, with all its consequences, lawfare and everything, the only US network that was covering it kind of in a correct way was Fox News. And the anchor who was on top of that practically nightly was Sean Hannity. And he was very supportive of Trump, but he never mentioned the role of the British. So what he was doing almost every evening, he would be spouting these bumper sticker slogans: Russian lies, Russian propaganda, and a dossier concocted by foreign nationals. You see, he didn't say by the Russians. And he didn't say which foreign nationals. So when you do that, Russian lies, Russian propaganda, foreign nationals, you give the people the impression that it's the Russians doing all this. But all the foreign nationals involved were British, with the exception of Igor Sechin, I forget exactly his name, who was the source of the supposed Russian intelligence, like the source who was saying that Donald Trump was involved, these P tapes, whatever was there. That guy was Russian, except that he was employed by Christopher Steele, the British MI6 asset. And so Britain is very well protected. Another reason, when during the in the run-up to the elections, Sir Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, sent 100 Labour Party activists to the United States to campaign for Kamala Harris and against Trump. So again and again and again, it's the British who are dead against Trump, not to mention all the statements of British officials demonizing Trump in the media, calling him racist, homophobe, misogynist, ugly things.
Hitler,
there you go, yes. And then, there was also a paper published by the Chatham House saying that, oh my God, if Donald Trump gets elected, the special relationship is over. Chatham House is practically, the British equivalent of the Council of Foreign Relations, and the article was written by the CEO of Chatham House. Anyway, so the antagonistic relationship between Britain and Donald Trump, which it's not him hating on the British, it's the other way around, by now must be clear to Trump. And it must be clear to him and people around him, to the extent that they must have asked themselves, what is this all about? Why are they so hysterical about did the sound break? I'm sorry, I had a call. Okay, so why are they so hysterical about this? What is the deal? And then once you know where to look, it's not hard to find, oh, so this is how things are. This is what the special relationship is for. Wait a minute, we're doing all the heavy lifting and all the dirty work. But somehow the British are kind of the ones that are formulating the strategy and pushing us around. And so, and even this whole deal with Ukraine and the rare earths, and it's the whole thing is like a dirty three-card Monte manipulation by the British, not just Keir Starmer government, because before Keir Starmer there was Rishi Sunak, and before Rishi Sunak there was Liz Truss, and before Liz Truss there was Boris Johnson, and before him there was Theresa May, David Cameron, and so on. But the policy is always the same. It doesn't matter. Labour, Tories, this prime minister, that prime minister, it doesn't matter. They're just stand-ins. And Liz Truss even came on Steve Bannon's War Room and she said, who's running the show? She said, oh, when I was the prime minister, I thought I was going to be able to change things. And then I found out that the real power is held by the Bank of England and the Office of Budget Responsibility. So it's the bankers running the show. Now we know. She said it, right? Well, we suspected all along, but she said it there explicitly. And so what choice does Donald Trump now have? Subservience to the empire of the bankers? By that, I mean maintaining this empire of 800 military bases all around the world that are really costly, where the American troops are doing the fighting and dying and killing, and where American taxpayer is feeding this beast at the expense of their prosperity and their futures and their children's future? Or do we reclaim our independence as we did in 1776? And I think that, you know, Trump did he initiate it? I don't remember anymore. That Project 1776 that the Democrats just flipped out, got all hysterical about that. And then his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, also in his confirmation hearings said the post-World War II order has been weaponized against us, has been used as a weapon against us, and it's more than obsolete. Strong indication that the administration is going to revise this post-World War II order. And then a few days into his presidency, Donald Trump picks up the phone and calls Vladimir Putin, and they spend 90 minutes talking, right? And then immediately he nominates a delegation, and they start arranging to meet, to hold these talks. And they're all saying this is much, much bigger than Ukraine. Ukraine is one small part of this whole mess, but it's the things we are discussing go much, much more beyond Ukraine. Well, what could that possibly be? I think a complete overhaul of the global order, in which I believe there will be three main pillars of stability in the world: the United States, Russia, China. And then there's going to be regional and sub-regional powers like India, Iran, Egypt, maybe Turkey, South Africa, Brazil. And I think that the logic of this conflict, in my mind, kind of imposes that the financial oligarchy in London and in Paris and on Wall Street, they have to be destroyed. They have to be completely disenfranchised. They will have to find jobs at Walmart, McDonald's, something. They can no longer continue to instigate war after war after war after war after war, and where millions upon millions of people die just so that this banking oligarchy could control the whole world's collateral so that they can issue loans to their clients and have them repaid with interests. So that has got to stop, because this is where the wars originate from. This is where the whole system of incentives that percolates through the whole system, that has made us as pathogenic to this world, that we are in forever wars all the time. This is where it's coming from, and this is what has to end. And if they don't end it, then it's a parasite that's going to continue infecting human societies and causing wars and mayhem everywhere around the world and misery abroad. Look at the streets of American cities. Look at the streets of British cities. Look at the British pensioners freezing in their homes in winter so that Keir Starmer could send billions upon billions upon billions of pounds to his friend Zelensky to keep shoving Ukrainian men into the meat grinder to be killed, and also kill Russian soldiers. It's all happening at the behest of Western banking oligarchies, and that has got to stop. And I think that if the third alliance happens, then there's a chance that we can actually make that stop. Because it's not only, dragging out the bankers and hanging them in the square. That's not enough. And that's not necessary. They should be retrained for, to do actually useful jobs to society. But you need to introduce a completely different monetary system. So that's a very, very ambitious project and a very important task for the future.
Alex, all of what you said, thank you so much for that. I want to express something that I probably did not express well enough. In my opinion, what's going on right now is this. Clearly, Russia is in control of the special military operation, but this is really a small part of the story. We are talking global right now, global balance, right? I truly feel, I believe it, and my intuition tells me, and I trust my intuition, that what's going on is Trump and Putin, like I repeat so many times, they are fighting with the same enemy, with the same evil, okay? This is ultimately what's going on. But
absolutely,
people, I'm not judging people because I know it's a lot of emotions, it's our life, but at the same time, you cannot always understand what Trump is saying or doing. It's not the point, because he's really making some crazy statements, or he's doing some crazy things, no weapons. It's really confusing everyone. And maybe that's exactly how he's supposed to act. Okay? I know it sounds crazy, but how you gonna win this war? And me delusional, whatever, I follow my gut. That's by design. Putin is clear. Один, два, три, четыре, everything he lays out, it's like this, that's it, and he's like diplomatic and everything. But Trump is all over the place, and maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Because now look, the Zionists created the Bolsheviks to take out the Romanovs, right? Because of why? Why did they want to kill the Romanovs? Why? Well, because the Rothschilds lost a lot of money during the Civil War. So they wanted to have a revenge. And meanwhile, between 1917 and 1920, and Alex, you know this, but some people don't, and I didn't remember the number. Bolsheviks killed over 20 million patriots in Russia, okay? So not only blood sacrifice, that's what they like, their freaking rituals, sucking the energy, slavery, money. This is the same scenario like you just described. So in my opinion, we are coming to this is like a cycle again. It's a cycle again. And now they don't want us even to know. Do you think I know this? Do you think I remember that Russia was close with the United States? I didn't remember this. I didn't know it. Like they removed this from the books, historical books. Poland, I grew up in communism Poland. So we didn't have like Russia was Cold War, you know, this is different situation. States, Russia, Soviet Union, Cold War. But they were the best friends. That's why they have such a problem when Trump says, I actually talked to Putin. I have good relationship with Putin. You know, I mean, it's so obvious, isn't it? So my question here is this. If we put all of this into consideration, how much power at this point they have? I don't know what's the number of those families who run the world, 12, 18, 6, 7, Switzerland, whatever they have, Grand Cayman, I don't know where they have the bases, I don't care. But how much power do you think they have over this system? Because if there is going to be, and we talked about it before, new financial system, okay, completely brand new, completely, like it's gonna pull the rug out of the feet. What they gonna do?
Anya, I don't know how much power they have. I know that it's a hell of a lot less than they had 30 years ago. You know, 30 years ago was the empire's unipolar moment when they had Russia on her knees. The United States was in its zenith. It was the end of history and they won, remember? And at that point, I think they were at their zenith as well, maybe. Today, I think they still wield considerable power because they still are in charge of the monetary systems around the world. They still have a very extensive, very ruthless apparatus of secret police, intelligence networks, secret diplomacy, and a network of terrorist organizations, separatist organizations, and narco cartels that they ultimately control. So while they wouldn't be able to maybe defeat Russia militarily or defeat China militarily, they can still cause a lot of damage in this parasitic way. You know, for example, Balochistan Liberation Front or Liberation Army just staged a terror attack in Pakistan. They killed a whole bunch of people on civilians on a train. This is like the attack on Crocus Center in Moscow, where they killed 100 and some people who came to see a concert. Launching drones into Russia. They are, you know, one of the ways that the United Kingdom has been doing foreign policy has been by inflicting opium wars on countries. We see that now in the United States. You know, this explosion of these strange synthetic new drugs or crack or cocaine or heroin, whatever is coming through, and overdose deaths exploding, and you see streets in city after city full of these people who are homeless and who are drugged out of their heads. Well, somebody's doing this, you know. You don't see it in Russia, you don't see it in Iran, you don't see it in Hungary, you don't see that in Belarus. but you do see it in these open societies, and it's getting worse. And that is, this is how Britain destroyed China. They destroyed China with 2 opium wars, where they practically forced the country to allow drugs in, and they deliberately distributed those drugs very widely to get as much of the population to be addicted to opium as possible. This is
But
going
don't
to
you think,
continue. Yeah, go
but
ahead.
don't you think this is a sign of absolute despair, and it's like the final stage of what else they can do?
Yes, it is. But the point I'm trying to make is they still are dangerous, and they still have a considerable power to cause damage. They may not have power to defeat Russia, to defeat China, or even to defeat Iran, but they do have the power to move all these secret networks of narco traffickers, intelligence agents, assassins, death squads, all these things, and to cause a lot of damage, which can ultimately destabilize governments and make, they don't, for example, they want to destroy Russia. They don't have to militarily conquer Russia. It's enough for them to destabilize the country enough to topple the government and to put in the Kremlin their own guy, somebody like Boris Yeltsin. And then that guy lets them do what they want, as Boris Yeltsin did. And then they run the show. They take control of Russia's wealth. And ultimately, they can continue undermining Russian society. Bring on LGBT, bring on the drugs, bring on the completely unleashed freedom to do whatever you want. Paint your hair pink, get tattoos all over your face. Things that we see in the West. And even if you didn't conquer the country militarily, you can still destroy it. So they shouldn't be underestimated. So that's why I think that it is very important that we try to unmask them, to unmask their methods and their the way they move, the way they do what they do. And I think it's very important that they get completely ended. That this third alliance between Russia and the United States, that they bring this to an end. This whole 500, 600 year episode of history that ended up destroying 6 indigenous civilizations around the world and depopulated huge swathes of the earth. This must be brought to an end, but completely and forever.
And I think with what you said, maybe it doesn't matter what people think. I believe there is a higher power that is watching over this. I really do. And that's why Putin is in charge, not Yeltsin 2.0 or something like that. That's why Trump gets back in. Some people say he never left, but that's another story. He got back in. There is a reason for all of this. And if everyone just approaches reality from intellectual, analytical standpoint, just using the logic, but not other senses, I don't think you will ever have a full level of understanding what is taking place, because we are at war, and this is truly spiritual war on many levels.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And here is the catch. You will never come to the point of understanding what Trump is doing to the T. You can't. You just can't. And I think people, Alex, are trying now to figure out all of this. Why he make this turn 180, or what's her name? Baerbock said 360, who cares? I mean, why he gives weapons, doesn't give weapons. I know it's important, but at the end of the day, if we have this in history, that Russia saved United States, okay, they declared the independence before the war. Let's just think about it for a moment. What kind of partner you have on your back, watching your back, that you know, I'm gonna declare independence, even though the war is still going on. You would think this is insane, right? Don't you
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
It's like in life. So I don't know. I don't need to know everything. What I know is this. We have to talk about those things. We have to bring this friendship between Russia and United States over and over again. We have to mention when Trump says he doesn't want nuclear weapons, and that's a problem too, because they want him to want to have nuclear weapons. It's all important. Don't you think? It's all important. We have to talk about those things.
Yes, absolutely, and I very much agree with what you said. That it's very difficult to judge Trump's action, and we shouldn't we shouldn't jump to conclusions too easily, because uh, Trump has taken on many, many very extremely powerful enemies all at the same time. By bringing RFK Jr. To his cabinet, he has pretty much turned the whole healthcare industry against the administration. So they're all very nervous. They're all afraid that their incredibly privileged position is going to be cut to size. And so that's one enemy. He said that he wants to reduce defense spending by one half. That's close to $500 billion less for the military industrial complex. So he's created very powerful enemies on that side. He's looking to reform the monetary system. So he's turned the bankers against himself. He wants to exit, the war in Ukraine. So he turned much of his former European allies and NATO against himself. I think that the Zionists and the supporters of Israel are worried about the way he's handling the Middle East, the unwillingness to go and kill Iran for them. He's speaking with Hamas. So this is the difference between Putin and Trump. Putin has cleaned his background, and maybe it was already cleaned for him when he came to power, because when Putin went to war against the oligarchs, he won. He didn't kill anybody, as people in the West think, that he just sent the KGB to kill the oligarchs. No, there were protracted legal battles in the Russian court system, where the oligarchs were challenging the government. The government defended itself and attacked the oligarchs, and the oligarchs all lost, which means that Putin has stronger political backing than did the oligarchs. Then when Mikhail Khodorkovsky, one of the oligarchs, tried to challenge him politically, Putin was able to put him away for tax fraud, and he put him away for 9 years. Khodorkovsky spent 9 years in prison. So Putin can be open. He can say, this is the strategy, this is the plan, this is what we're doing, and then execute exactly as he said it. Donald Trump has so many enemies at home. There's so many traps. The swamp is so full of toxic creatures that are waiting for a chance to take him down, that he has to do this slalom to say, like, hey, look over there, and then move a piece over here, and then
Exactly.
throw a grenade over that side, and then move a piece here. Like, for example, I was
kill Putin. Can I just say that those creatures also want to kill Putin? Those creatures that Trump is dealing with.
Yes. And I was for example, I was on a podcast a few days ago with Harley Schlanger, on Crypto Rich. And Harley Schlanger is extraordinarily knowledgeable person, you know, history, the context of everything, the lay of the land in politics in Germany, the United States, Europe, and so on. And so what came up is this whole thing about Donald Trump deporting foreign students from Columbia University en masse because they were supporting the Palestinian cause. They said like, oh, they're pro-Hamas supporters. Now, on the face of it, you would say, oh, that's terrible. And so the discussion kind of went in this way. And then I said, well, I don't know, you know, I would like to know more about Columbia University, because maybe it's one of those cesspools of wokeism. And maybe Trump is using the facade of fighting pro-Hamas activists to clean out the wokery out of the university. And then Harley Schlanger said, oh my God, yes, you're right. And now I forget the details, but he said, you know who is the dean of this in Columbia University? Well, it's this guy who has been one of the chief drivers of the Russiagate and the lawfare against Trump and so on and so forth. And he said, like, oh, you're right. That makes total sense. And then, you know, this Palestinian guy who they're throwing out of the United States now, I forget his name.
The student, right?
The student, yes. The student who happens to have been an employee of the British Embassy in Lebanon. Hello?
How convenient.
He was working for the British Embassy in Beirut. And not only was just he wasn't a janitor there, he had security clearance. So now if you put yourself in the administration's shoes, how do you deal with this?
Thank you, Alex. I didn't know it.
Yeah, you want to clean this up, but you don't want to say like, oh, we want to get rid of this British agent from Stanford, wherever he was. No, they say he's a pro-Hamas guy. And then all of the Christian evangelicals and Zionist Christians and Jewish Christians, they all say like, yay, bravo Trump. And so he doesn't lose political points. He doesn't undermine his public support, yet he gets to do what the strategy is, but he can't say it in the open. So that's why I say, you know, it's very important not to get too excited about what Trump says. It's more important to look at the ultimate effects of what he does. And so also from his first administration, remember when he launched a missile attack on Syria and everybody lost their shit. And then it turned out that he launched something like 56 Tomahawk missiles or whichever missiles. And he informed the Russians an hour in advance. And then the Russians shot down most of the missiles and the rest of them just kind of fell in empty lots. Basically, I think that one or two people accidentally got killed, but he didn't destroy anything important. He just made a show of force for the domestic audiences to go like, yay, Trump is finally being presidential, the beauty of our weapons and blah, blah, blah. But he didn't do anything at all.
Alex,
anyway.
This is so good because thank you so much for bringing all of this, because this is just reinforcing my intuition. This literally is what you're saying. And, you know, I trust God and my intuition. It's like my guidance. That's it. Now, I want to ask you the last question because you have to go. We're almost reaching 6 p.m. Okay. This is a little bit different side of the story. It's a historical question, but since you come from that region, from ex-Yugoslavia, right? Let me ask you about this relationship because I'm really curious. Why? Let me just show, and you know what? Let me show you a few things because I don't even know how to pronounce the name. Where is this? Right here. Okay, you know how to pronounce it. House of Karađorđević, right?
Karađorđević.
Karađorđević. Okay, so this
Yes.
is the dynasty, right? The royal family from Serbia, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now here is the picture. I came across this. I'm a little prepared for today. So here is the picture. This is right here. You can see everyone. This is Alexander. No, sorry, this is Nikolai. This is Tsar Nikolai. This is the Romanov, okay? The one that
Yeah.
was killed, his wife and children.
Yeah, Nicholas II. Yeah.
Thank you, Nicholas II. And this, Alex, is, can you please tell me the last, was it the last king of Serbia?
I have no idea. Some guy with mustache, as far as I can tell.
Come on, you know. Okay,
No, I
wait.
don't. I honestly don't know who that is.
Okay, so let me ask you about him, because here, let me share this. I want to ask you, he was assassinated, of course, like what's new. I just wonder why they were after him, because this all makes sense.
Okay. I see. Well, the reason.
Here,
Okay.
Alex, this one. Petar the First.
Yes.
Okay.
If I'm what? So he died in 1920.
Let me check again. I will share it again. We can read it together. Let's see. But they kill him. I just wonder why they have to remove him. It's because of Romanovs. Of what was the problem with him? Because it's all again.
Okay. So am I?
Wait. Exile. No, this one is Exile, right? This one is Belgrade. 1 second. June. Oh, was in power. One is this one. Anyway, the last king that was hanging out with the Romanovs, he was also killed. Is this one? Yes, 1918. Yes.
1918. No, that's a bit late. I don't know. Okay, so I'll tell you the story, Anya. I only remember it vaguely. I will not be able to give you the exact names and the exact dates, but here's what's been going on, and I will give you the resource where you can find details about it. There is a book by Gary Doherty. I don't know how to pronounce it. It looks like Doherty. You know, The Secret Origins of World War I. Do you know the book that I'm talking about? So what was happening is that parts of the former Yugoslavia were under the occupation by Austria-Hungary, and the British intelligence wanted to antagonize the Austrian Empire by using Serbs as a proxy, as they always do. You know, they don't go like, oh, we're going to go and harass and terrorize these people. No, they go to Serbian intelligence and they say, hey, you go. It's always the same thing. Let's you and him fight. It's always the same thing. So they got Serbian intelligence. So they co-opted some people in Serbian intelligence and security apparatus to antagonize the Austrian Empire in Bosnia. The reason is because they wanted to trigger World War I. And the objective of World War I was to destroy Germany. And so the way they figured to do it is they used the Serbians to antagonize the Austrians. And then ultimately, you know, they had these terrorist organizations like Young Bosnia, as they had Young Turks and Young this and Young that everywhere. And so these young terrorists from Young Bosnia, they ultimately assassinated the Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. And then there was a long period of several months, I think, or weeks at least, where the Austrians were, okay, we want the people who did this apprehended. We want Austrian investigators to come to Sarajevo and to Belgrade and to find who did this and to bring them to justice. And then the Serbs said, no, we'll do the investigations. You butt out. This has nothing to do with you. And so at some point, the Austrian Empire gives the Serbs an ultimatum. You either do what we required you to do, or we're going to come in with the military. And at the same time, the Kaiser Wilhelm in Germany was trying to prevent this from happening, because everybody understood if the Austrians go against Serbia militarily, this is just going to explode all over the place, and the whole continent is going to break out into war. Yes, young lady in the back of the room.
Thank you, sir. So I have a question, but Tsar Nikolai II was close. He attended the wedding of the other one, I think. They were close, like kind of like BFFs from the distance. What Russia?
Oh, sorry, who was BFFs?
Nikolai with this one who said has the mustache. I'm talking about this king of Serbia. They were close.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if they were friends. I guess they must have been, at least knew each other.
Russia didn't want to stand by them and support?
Yes. So Russia was practically on the hook. Russians were practically under this obligation to protect. I don't know if they gave a security guarantee to Serbia or what the deal exactly was, but they were kind of on the hook that if the Austrians move against the Serbians against Serbia, then the Russians were going to move against Germany, because there was this idea that Kaiser Wilhelm in Germany was ultimately the superior to the Austrian emperor, so that it was his responsibility. Like if the Austrians go on Serbia, they were blaming Kaiser Wilhelm, and then the Russians are going against Germany. And so that's how the whole World War I erupted over that, because the Austrians eventually did intervene, even though Kaiser Wilhelm tried everything he could possibly do to prevent that and to rein in the Austrians, but he couldn't, because the Austrian emperor did have considerable discretion in foreign policy. And then the Russians moved against Germany. But you see, there were British elements driving Serbia towards antagonizing Austria. And then there were also British intelligence and diplomatic assets in St. Petersburg who were directing Russian foreign policy. This is all really, really superbly well described in this book, The Secret Origin. Give me a second, I'll find the book and I'll show it to you.
Okay. Thank you everyone for watching.
All right,
Yes.
that's the one.
Wow.
So it's called Hidden History.
Thank you.
The Secret Origins of the First World War. Jerry Doherty and Jim McGregor. Absolutely superb. And I highly recommend it, because everything they taught you in school about World War I is nonsense. It's a sanitized version, distorted, just so that you don't get exactly those lessons of history that you should learn. So they tell you this story and then that story, and just one damn thing about after the other, and you can't figure out why would, like, somebody assassinated Archduke Ferdinand in Sarajevo, and then everybody went crazy and went to war? Excuse me? Does that make any sense to you? There was...
But then, Alex, one more thing here, because I know you have to go in a few minutes. But then if we look at the timeline, right? So this took place 1914, or before that, 1 year. I don't remember exactly when they killed him, but the World War I officially started.
Yeah, it was
1914, right? But then we have the revolution, the Bolshevik revolution in 1917. So that's how the creatures plan their adventures, because you have to create one thing to then go to another thing to create the turmoil there, so it will fuel this, but we're gonna sponsor both sides of this disaster, so we're gonna win anyway.
Yes. But things have changed, Anya, because in the run-up to World War I, and even in the run-up to World War II, Great Britain was still the leading power in the world. They still had the largest GDP in the world. They still had powerful navies. There was no internet for us to have this conversation. The narrative was controlled by newspapers and radio. People didn't know all the nuances of history. Today, the United Kingdom is a shadow of itself. It has two very powerful rivals in the world, being Russia and China, and now they have another one in the administration of Donald Trump. And then we have this internet where we get to interact and share all this knowledge and information. And I think that people are waking up. And so the old playbooks no longer work the same way as they once did. So they are trying to do the same thing that succeeded 100 years ago and 70 years ago, but it's not succeeding now. And I think that, the government in St. Petersburg in the run-up to World War II, they really didn't understand the British dirty dealing. They really thought that the British were helping them out, advising them in good faith. They completely didn't understand how perfidious the game is. And so they fell for it. They didn't, they didn't do things that they should have done to defend themselves. They did do things that they shouldn't have done. There was the famous Rasputin, who was trying to advise the Tsarina and Tsar Nicholas II, alert them to the dangers of going to World War I, and so the British had him killed. And then for decades we thought that this Rasputin was some kind of a horrible monster.
That's how they portray, exactly, Alex. That's exactly how they portray, like it's some crazy lunatic.
Yes. No, he was trying to prevent Russia entering World War I. But, Britain wanted World War I, so he was an obstacle, so he had to be killed and he had to be turned into a monster. I don't think that works now. I don't think that works now. Certainly not in the same way that it did once. And the Chinese and the Russians 100% understand the playbook. And I think that the Donald Trump and people around him also understand the playbook. And so when, did you watch the scene when Keir Starmer pulls out the letter from the king to invite Donald Trump to a second state visit?
I did the whole body language examination for the video.
Because, when you watch it the first time, you don't quite see it. When I watched it the second time, it was so cringe. It was so desperate and pathetic.
Yeah, that's all he had a freaking letter. That's it.
Yeah. I think that reveals how weak and vulnerable and panicked they are, because that's all they have. That's all they have. They they're waving this king to try to dazzle Donald Trump, but Trump can see that the king is naked. That this is like a joke. It's you
Alex,
mean that guy who is best friends with Jimmy Savile? That guy?
it's not.
He's inviting me.
This is not Charles, Alex. This is another person who is acting as him. Clearly, if just people look at this is not King Charles, right? Like, let's just look at the man, okay?
Okay,
But besides that, humiliation at the level, and just the moment when Trump says, Starmer, come over here, and just reaches for his hand, I'm like, oh my God, this is so low. This was so low.
Yes. Anyway, so I think that
Alex,
I agree with you that we should be optimistic, but I think that we have to continue being alert and speaking out. They say the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We have to remain vigilant. We have to make sure that Trump administration doesn't lose its way for whatever reason. You know, I believe that they're smart people. I believe that they're in earnest. Maybe it's all a very elaborate deception. But so what if it is? He is in the White House. That's for real. And the people of the United States made that happen against the odds. That's for real. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, but the American people made it happen that way. So as they made that happen, so can they direct the administration to do the right stuff. And so I think that we have every reason to be positive and optimistic. We are the first generation of humanity, the first generation of mankind that has the assets, that has the facilities and the resources of knowledge and information and communications and organization to change the course of history, to end the forever wars, to end the opium wars, to end terrorism, to end this rapacious exploitation and repression human sacrifice, poverty. You know, we have insanely, staggeringly productive economies. We should be anxious, if anything, we should be anxious about how to enjoy it all properly, how to spend it all properly, rather than being anxious, am I going to be able to pay my bills?
But that's programming too, Alex. We know this. This is programming.
Yes, I know. But
your mind to constant fear and uncertainty.
Yes, but you know, we now have the means to change this, and we have no excuse, because if we don't change it, our children are going to have to change it, or else they're going to be slaves, and their children and their children and their children. So if you think, oh, this isn't right, but I don't feel, I'm afraid to take a risk. This might happen to me. Then what you're saying is, I'm okay with my kids being slaves. I'm okay with that because I can't take risk. I don't dare to do the right thing because it might have adverse consequences for me. What you're saying is, I'm okay with my kid having a chip in his arm and being allowed 100 grams of cricket protein per week or something like that.
Yes,
maybe that's harsh, but it's a caricature, but it
plan.
Really is that way.
And before we end this, I believe we showed up for this. We showed up. Our soul has chosen to be here at this very moment. So now what we're going to do with it? If people are even afraid to express their opinions, I'm not saying take a banner and go on the street and shout, but express your opinion or seek the truth or ask questions. Keep asking questions. People are afraid of everything, and then they are afraid how their life will unfold. So how much are you leading your life, really? Like you're
Yeah.
still waiting for someone to take your hand and walk you through the valleys and, you know, take you to the summit and say, hey, you conquer it. It's not going to work like that.
Yes.
Anyway, you have to go, and I'm so just excited about those historical topics, and I think I would like to continue with this because I have to relearn entire history because clearly I don't know anything. Everything is twisted. So Alex, thank you so much. I truly
Anya, thank you
enjoyed.
for having me. Warm greetings to everyone out there. Rejoice and stand together. We're winning this one. And enjoyable weekend to everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. Sorry, I'm so excited, but that's what happens when I talk about things like that. It's just beyond. Okay, guys, see you next time. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.